Welcome to the greatest podcast in sports betting entertainment. My name is Tanner Kern, certified J, bona fide stud, and you can't teach that. In this right here, this is G Money Grant Mitchell. We are here breaking down all the news in the sports world that you need to know, including Shannon Sharpe and Joe Burrow, how he cannot pick up a water bottle. Big range of topics today. And you can't teach that. Bada boom. Man, the people in the room. G Money Grant Mitchell, how you doing?
I'm doing really good, Tanner. You know why?
Why?
Because I went all out in the kitchen last night and my stomach is still full and I felt great. I made a huge bowl of chili. Maybe it might still be a little warm outside for the chili, but made a huge pot of chili, brought the spice level up. That was really good. Had some really nice garlic bread. I know that I don't know if you can even call it a recipe, but I switched up how I did it. Normally when I make garlic bread before, I would just toast the bread, put the garlic on the butter, stuff like that. This time I melted the butter, put some garlic powder, put some salt, put some other stuff in there, mixed it all up, and then I dipped the bread in it, and then I stuck it in the oven. That turned out really good. And then to finish the day, made some apples. I put them in a pan with some cinnamon and sugar and butter and all that, browned them up, and then I put them on top of ice cream and a little bit of chocolate sauce. Had myself a meal, and it was great.
Sounds good. I like apples, like apple crisp. Big apple crisp guy. Love that.
Yeah, my girlfriend makes this thing. I think she calls it berry crumble, which is kind of similar to what I was just describing, but it's like hot berries and they're all mixed together, and then she puts them on ice cream, and it's really good. I like the contrast of the warm and the cold.
There you go. I went to the Red Sox. I lost all the money that I won in week 1 at the Red Sox game last night. I bet Rafael Devers over bases. He's trash. I bet him to hit a home run. He's even more trash. I bet Gunnar Henderson to hit a home run. He's trash. I bet no run. I bet a run to be scored in the 6th inning, lost that, and then I bet the Orioles live money line and lost that. So it was an eventful night. I think I went like 0 for 5. But you can't expect to hit home run props. I did expect Devers to like get a hit because he didn't get a single hit all day, and like 3 of his at bats were 1-pitch ground outs, like not even making it exciting for me.
Well, you know who you should have bet on to bet a home run, to hit a home run, right?
Who?
Nick Castellanos.
He hit one yesterday.
Of course he did. It was the anniversary of 9/11. Casty was going yard. He went yard on his first at bat.
I should have known that. Wow, I really should have known that. But so does that count as national tragedy now, though? Like, I feel like that's just like it's a huge day, obviously, in American history. But doesn't it have to be like tragedy struck that moment and then he hits home run?
I don't think there are any limits for Castellanos. If it's any sort of bad situation, I think he's hitting it out the park.
Because I didn't see that trend. Usually you see that trending on Twitter, like Nick Castellanos when it's one of those days. But
yeah.
What was trending on Twitter was Shannon Sharpe. We're going to talk about this in a minute. But before we do that, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. We just hit 100 subscribers on the Ride the Line channel. So thank you very much. Put the clapping noise in there. And then check out WSN.com, guys, which we are presented by. All the sportsbook content, promo codes, articles, you name it, is all on there. So make sure you check that out. Linked in the description below. Grant, yes. Shannon Sharpe.
Shannon Sharpe. He went on Instagram Live while he was getting to it yesterday. A lot of people are expecting him to come out and say that he had been hacked because I guess earlier in the day he had said he'd been hacked. So people just assumed this was part of that. But he went on Nightcap, his show, and said, no, that was me. And, you know, he apologized that he went on live. He said he was embarrassed. He didn't apologize for having sex, which, to be fair, I don't think you need to apologize for either. But people are going to wonder, is this a publicity stunt? And then they're going to throw it back to Paul Pierce, who was an ESPN employee, and he got fired largely because he had strippers on Instagram Live. Shannon Sharpe's with ESPN now. What's going to happen with all of that? I don't know. I just know that I got the notification Shannon Sharpe went live on Instagram because I do follow him. I did not click it. And then about 20 minutes later, I went on Twitter and I saw what was going on there. And I was glad I didn't open the live.
Well, I thought he was hacked because the odds of you throwing your phone down on a table, getting on Instagram Live, like, it's hard. That does not just happen. So like that's what confuses me. Like, he admitted it was him. He's never started Instagram Live before, but the odds of you taking your phone, even with Instagram on, and throwing it down on the table, turning live, because live is like when you swipe to it, you have to swipe to it on the bottom. You have to click the button to your story, swipe underneath to get to live, and press the button. That's a lot of stuff that has to happen.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I've never been live myself either, so I don't know for sure about the exact process, but I know it's multiple button clicks and everything. Shannon Sharpe seems to be a pretty private guy, and I don't think he needs the publicity. I mean, he's all over the place on TV anyway. He's got a show which is doing well. He's got his own liquor brand, forget what the name of it is, but I just don't see a benefit to doing that necessarily.
It can
It
only
does
hurt
seem
him.
like an accident, and I know I wouldn't want people to hear me getting busy, so feel bad for Shannon.
It can only hurt him, honestly. Like, he did get a contract from a porn site.
Did he really?
Yeah, well, that always happens. Like, when something like this goes down, they always give you a contract, but he got an offer. This only hurts him. I mean, because he's not in the space. He's a media guy. Like, it's not good. I think I don't think he's gonna lose any jobs over it, but I'm sure there's gonna be some sponsorship declines and stuff.
Yeah, and I'm guessing Stephen A is gonna, Stephen A. Smith is he's been there for him ever since Shannon and Skip started going through it, and so I'm guessing there's gonna be a talk between the two of them. And it's
Yeah.
funny because apparently just a few days ago, Shannon Sharpe was lecturing Ocho Cinco about being professional on this show, and then so Ocho, I guess, got to give him one back yesterday.
Yeah. So, the problem is ESPN today's world, you're not going to make a joke about it on ESPN. Like, it's just not gonna, you couldn't, like, he can do it on his podcast. Like, you can't do it on mainstream television. I don't think they're going to let it go down today. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I'm interested. Like you said, I'm interested to see what happens on TV. And then Stephen A's got his own podcast as well. So see if he mentions it
Yeah.
there.
Like, if you got Stephen A and him just going at it and joking about it, like, it would be pretty funny. And I think it would blow over much easier than if they do like a serious, like, yesterday on Instagram Live, this happened, and I'm very sorry for it. Like, if Stephen A just starts busting his ass on First Take, like, that would be great.
I think that is probably what's more likely to happen with Stephen A. The question is, does ESPN mandate an apology or something like that?
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so we got some football to talk about, Grant. Big matchups this weekend, including the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Detroit Lions. We're not talking about this one, but are they going to cover 7.5, Grant?
Yes, 7.5 is crazy. I think it was 6.5 at one point. 7.5 got to take the Bucks.
Good. Love that. All right. So the game that we're talking about first, though, New York Jets versus the Tennessee Titans. Will the thrill Levis going up against Aaron washed up Rodgers in a battle for the ages? Aaron Rodgers, this is my take after watching the Jets in week one. Aaron Rodgers does not take the New York Jets to a championship level. He is not at the point where this team can win a championship. They have an elite defense. They have a pretty easy schedule, but this in no way is a championship caliber football team.
No, not even close. And going into the year, I did not understand why people were so high on the Jets because I said, what are the three biggest question marks here? The quarterback, the head coach, the offensive line. You know what the three most important parts of a football team in 2024 are? The quarterback, the head coach, the offensive line. Maybe an edge rusher if you want to throw him in there. But that's at least three of the top four. And what we saw in week one, 49ers were able to control the line of scrimmage. Robert Saleh doesn't appear ready. I mean, he was going against a 49ers team that Trent Williams did play the whole game, but he was clearly a bit out of shape because he had to go to the locker room for an IV. Brandon Ayuk had a limited snap count. Christian McCaffrey didn't play. Robert Saleh was the defensive coordinator for the 49ers. If there's anyone who should know how to slow them down, it should be him, and that's not at all what happened. I mean, the 49ers ran roughshod all over them. And then Aaron Rodgers, to complete this puzzle here, he didn't look good. His numbers would have been horrible if it wasn't for that free play. He would have had like 120, 130 yards, no touchdowns, and an interception. And what would we would be talking about him the way that we're talking about Kirk Cousins right now, which makes sense because they're both old quarterbacks coming off of torn Achilles injuries. So yes, I'm with you. The defense is great. I stopped trying to fight that battle a long time ago. They impressed me. But no, Aaron Rodgers doesn't get them. Aaron Rodgers doesn't get them to the Super Bowl. Aaron Rodgers doesn't get them to the conference championship. Aaron Rodgers might not even win them a single playoff game. He might not get them to the playoffs. I bet them to miss the playoffs before the year started. I still feel good about it.
He just looked really uncomfortable in the pocket. That was the biggest thing. He looked flimsy. He didn't look like he wanted to be in that pocket, taking that pressure. Like most quarterbacks, like you can step up. You can feel the pressure. Aaron Rodgers just didn't do that at all. And I know it's his first game back after an Achilles tear, which happened very early in a football game. But this is just not going to be a championship football team in the New York Jets. And Aaron Rodgers after the game is preaching, relax. We're going to be okay. Like, no, you might go over your win total. You probably can sneak into the playoffs as a wild card team just because of how easy your schedule is. But like looking at this Jets team right now, even facing like the New England Patriots, that's a tight game. The way the Patriots played against the Bengals because how they play well on defense, because how the Jets are struggling to move the football. And also what's scary too, looking at this game between the Titans are only a 3.5-point underdog at home. I would expect that to be 5.5 against the New York Jets. Saying it's only 3.5 with Will Levis playing quarterback and a Titans team that didn't really look good in week 1. I don't know.
No, I'm with you. You would expect the line to be a lot larger. And I do just want to go back to what you said about Aaron Rodgers looking uncomfortable and everything. Well, you got to remember, he was ready to play in December of last year. So if we are to believe him, because he is a man that wants to be believed. He wants us to believe that his ayahuasca retreats are the key to opening your soul. He wants us to believe that he has found a way or he did find a way to immunize himself from COVID without taking the vaccine. He wants to be seen and heard. That's why he was on Pat McAfee. He wants everybody to believe him. So if I go out there and I say, you know what, Aaron Rodgers, I believe that you recovered from a torn Achilles in 2 months and you were cleared to play football, but it just didn't make sense because you missed the playoffs, then you don't get excuses. In fact, you get no excuses at all because in your world, you have been good to go for the last 9 months. So I'm not even thinking about you coming off of an injury. So this is just another instance of him and his fat mouth painting himself into a corner here. You can't have it both ways. Are you coming off of an injury? Me being realistic, yes, you are. But if you're going to tell me you were good 9 months ago, then no, I don't give you the benefit of the doubt.
Now, Will Levis, probably the most devastating thing your coach can tell you. If you just punted every single drive, we probably would have won the football game.
That was crazy that the coach said.
But the coach did a really good job in his interview. Like overall, it was very, like when you have a kid's not always going to do what you tell him to do. Like that's why we coach it. That's why we got to go back, and he's going to make mistakes, and he's a young quarterback. I think they're already setting the stage though for Will to be a backup quarterback when this coach can get his guy in the future. I mean, he didn't lose a lot on Will. He lost a 2nd-round draft pick. But Will needs to step up and play a lot better than he did in week 1 in order to be the Titans guy moving forward, because as much as I think the coach did a really good job with how he talked about it, and that's a concerning quote.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I just checked who the Titans backup quarterback is. They don't have a 3rd or 4th string quarterback. Do you know who their backup is?
Well, they traded Malik. I don't know who it is.
It's Mason Rudolph.
Yeah, like Mason Rudolph, I mean, he's done more in the NFL than Will Levis has. Like he's had more successful seasons. I don't look at Mason Rudolph as a starting quarterback by any means. I think I look at Will more as a starting quarterback. Will's personality, and again, I think he gets painted by the media differently than he is, but I don't think he's as bad, like as a frat boy kind of guy as the media portrays him to be. And I look at him more as a starting quarterback than a backup quarterback.
He does put mayonnaise in his coffee.
The mayonnaise is a tough look. The banana is a tough look. There's just some tough looks for him. Like if you just, the sex tape, tough look. Like there's a lot of tough frat boy looks there for him. But like he's a good dude.
I mean, he very well might be, but I'm with you. I mean, this Callahan's first year. This is why the quote was so crazy to me. Not only is it Callahan's first year there, it's his first game. And you're saying to your quarterback, who is technically still in his first year starting, I don't know what that was, like his 6th, 7th game, something like that. And you're saying, if you just didn't show up to work, we would have won the game. It is tough to hear, regardless if it's right or not. So it does already, like you said, it does sound like they're already paving the way to draft a quarterback in the draft. And I've said this repeatedly on the show, so I don't want to go back to it. I just didn't understand what they were doing in the offseason because they signed all these free agents who are veteran guys, which is what you do when you're ready to compete. And if your coach is making these comments, he's ready to take a step backwards, tear it down, and rebuild. I don't get why you would bring in those free agents.
Yeah, I don't get it one bit either. You
Wait,
ready to move on?
real quick, while we're here, actually. So we've talked about this, I don't know, like a month ago. I think we might have talked about Shadur, Carson Beck, whatever. Any sort of updates, what you've seen in college football as to, I don't know what pick the Titans are going to get, but if they're in the position where they're looking for a quarterback, how you feeling about the different candidates out there?
There's a lot of good quarterbacks in college this year. Like it's not as loaded as a class has been, but let me pull up my list from the guys that I've
Well,
watched.
we had 6 quarterbacks drafted in the first round last year, and if you look at the list, it's possible we get close to that number again because you could have obviously your Carson Becks, your Shadur Sanders, but Jackson Dart's making a name for himself, Cam Ward, I was going to say Nico, but he's a freshman, Quinn Ewers, some of these other guys, Miller
So
Moss maybe.
I mean, even like a Jalen Milroe, Garrett Nussmeier is a guy I really like. Like he's been really well. Like Connor Wegman is plus
No.
3,000 to go to first. Like that's where we draw the line with Connor Wegman is where like we are not going below him. He is trash. I think the Florida Gators will beat Texas A&M outright this weekend, and that's saying something because Florida's trash. But Drew Aller,
Is Florida starting the what's his name, the freshman?
I don't know because Graham Mertz is hurt, but DJ Lagway is really good. Mertz is a dog. I don't know. It's tough. Lagway can probably do more for you, but Florida's got to win that game, or they're going to win like 2 games this year, maybe. But like we draw the line at Connor Wegman. So like the fact that he's even on a list to be the first overall pick is shameful. Garrett Nussmeier I like a lot. Cam Ward, Quinn Ewers, Shadur Sanders, Jalen Milroe. But Jalen Milroe, he's going to be a first round quarterback. I just can't see him as a first round NFL quarterback. He's not there yet, but he looked good in week 1. Week 2 was a little bit downhill, but they still ended up scoring 28 points in the fourth quarter. Like he just fumbled on the 1-yard line going in.
Yeah, the thing with guys who run a lot in college is it's always important to keep in mind, are they running because they can or are they running because they have to? Lamar Jackson ran because he could. Jaden Daniels ran because he could. With Jalen Milroe, I think it's more of sometimes a necessity. Now, I'm interested to see how that evolves with Kalen DeBoer in just another year of experience. But when Alabama gets to play in these big games, I'm going to be paying attention to that. Is he running because nobody's open or it's an important situation, whatever, or does he just not feel comfortable throwing the ball? That's going to be the biggest indicator to me of can he succeed in the NFL?
Yeah. Well, 2 college teams, or 2 professional teams, I should say, that don't need a quarterback, Cincinnati Bengals and the Kansas City Chiefs. They're going to battle at 425 CBS. Big game here. I do expect the Bengals to bounce back slightly. It's probably not going to be enough to win the football game. It might not be enough to cover, but I do think they're going to look a lot better than they did in week 1 because you can only go up from there. Grant, is Joe Burrow cooked with the wrist?
So this is what is so interesting about this. I think most people would say no, you just need to give him time. There's no documented history of a quarterback suffering this injury. So doctors will be able to tell you, 6 months, whatever, the pain will go away, but how will it impact your performance as a quarterback? There is no precedent. There's no history of it. So we don't know. He could be done. This could have compromised his ability to throw the ball for the rest of his life. Some things you just don't fully recover from. Like if you sprain or break your ankle, I know this because I've broken my ankle 3 times. I broke it on my right side. My right Achilles is about twice as thick as my left one is. And it's going to be like that for the rest of my life because there's certain inflammation. Your Achilles builds up its shell to protect itself. So I don't know. Nobody knows what the impact is on Joe Burrow. I'll tell you what, he did not look great throwing the ball last week. He wasn't awful, but he certainly wasn't pushing the ball down the field. And if you look at some of his advanced numbers as far as air yards and depth of target like that, he was wildly inefficient compared to where he's been for the rest of his career. And then on the sideline, when he had to pick up the Gatorade bottle, you would think it's as simple as pick it up. He had to use his whole arm and pick it up to the side and everything. And I know that he said at a team press conference that he didn't even think anything of it. He didn't know what the whole fuss was about, but it didn't look natural. And when you're doing this the whole game, people are going to start to wonder, are you okay or not?
I'd be more afraid of this than the water. Like the water bottle, it took me a minute when I read the caption on whoever posted that clip first. It was like, this must be the heaviest Gatorade bottle in the world or Joe Burrow's cooked. Like it took me a minute to like see it, that how he picked it up. Like it could have been the angle. I'd be more worried about him doing this between snaps than picking up the Gatorade bottle, because like he picked it up.
But he was doing this a lot during the
Yeah.
game.
Yeah. And again, they didn't look good. The Bengals, without T. Higgins, without a healthy Jamar Chase, like Jamar Chase was sick, allegedly. T. Higgins didn't play. They didn't have a run game going. They didn't take the play calling was horrendous. Like there was no stretching the ball down the field. It was all quick passes, 4th and 1, 4th and 2, or throwing the ball behind the sticks and expecting a guy to run for it. You just can't do that kind of stuff in the NFL. So it was just a bad game for the Bengals. They've had bad games to start the season. I think they're going to be okay. If they get blown out this weekend, I still don't think you read into it too much. You got to see what they do week 3, week 4, because historically they've been terrible in week 1 and 2. So it's just how they are.
Yeah, it is really weird how much of a slow starter they've been. But I'll tell you what, we'll give them the 2 weeks grace period, which we don't do for anyone else. But I guess just because they have been able to recover from it and get to the playoffs and even get to a Super Bowl, we'll give them the first 2 weeks. But after that, Joe Burrow's got to start reasserting himself. He's been granted a grace period compared to guys like Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, because he has been able to stand up to the Chiefs in the big moment, on the road in Arrowhead to get to the Super Bowl, whereas Lamar, despite winning the MVPs, hasn't done that. Josh Allen, despite being labeled by some people better than Mahomes a couple of years ago, hasn't done that. Well, time's starting to drain on. He's been injured. He's not performed well when he has played. And to start this year, he did not look good in week 1. So if we're a month down the road and he's not playing well, we're going to start to need to seriously reevaluate, where does Joe Burrow stand and where do the Bengals stand in the NFL?
Yeah, but you know how the biggest medicine to correct all this is just going to beat the Chiefs.
It's not going to happen.
Beat the Chiefs in Arrowhead. You never know. He's done it before. I don't think it's going to happen, and I wouldn't take them to win the game probably right now. But if you go beat the Chiefs, nobody cares about losing the Patriots in week 1. They're going to say it's a fluke. So that's what you got to do.
I agree. That is what you have to do. But I mean, what's the line? It's like 6 points, right? I'm probably laying it with the Chiefs.
I probably would lie bet it. I think that the Bengals can surprise some people just because they play really well at Arrowhead Stadium. And I wouldn't want to take anything in the game, honestly.
I don't know. The Chiefs look good, man. The Chiefs look explosive.
They look okay. Let's calm down. Like Lamar, if the Ravens were halfway decent in the red zone, they would have won the game.
I mean, people think the Ravens are the second or third best team in the NFL.
They're not. They don't look like it. But they couldn't finish in the red zone. Like Lamar threw for 270, rushed for another 120. I guess Burrow's not going to do that to you. But again, if the Ravens make one more sack on Patrick Mahomes, they probably win the football game. There was one sack there when the play downfield to Kelsey, that changed the game. Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy both looked really good, but that was the Chiefs didn't do anything spectacular. They just looked good.
That's pretty spectacular compared to the rest of the league, because most of the league did not look good.
Yeah. Well, like Patrick Mahomes, I mean, what did he throw for?
He was 291, 1 touchdown, 1 pick.
1 touchdown, 1 pick. Like he was really good evading pressure in the pocket. That's why he's so special, because he's able to escape stuff. Overall, though, like the Chiefs looked good. They looked much better than the rest of the league, but the Ravens gave that game away too. When you really look at the numbers, I mean, they outgained it by 100 yards.
Yeah, but I also felt like it just felt like the Ravens were playing from behind, literally and kind of metaphorically. Like it felt like the Chiefs knew they were in control, and whenever they needed to play, they were going to get it. And then it was just kind of, is Lamar going to pull a rabbit out of the hat? And he almost did, to his credit. 400 yards of total offense, and they miss out on the touchdown by an inch. But I never felt like they were controlling anything.
Yeah, well, Lamar missed too many throws. Like you can't miss the throw before on 3rd down. That is a wide open touchdown. If you're in the NFL, you can't miss it. So
didn't he say he wasn't aiming for Zay Flowers or something?
I don't know what was aiming for, the freaking goalpost. Like nobody was in the area he was aiming for. Lamar, you know what though? Like literally Lamar after the game, like how stupid can you be to get up on the podium and be like, that was a touchdown? I've watched it. It was a touch. Nobody in their right mind thought that was a touchdown. So stop talking about it.
Yeah, and I just don't know what you gain from it either. And I gotta say, I'm also sick and tired of the Ravens saying we know how to beat them, or if we're gonna play this bad and they can barely beat us, then I feel sad for them for what's gonna come next. Uh, how many times are you gonna lose and say this is a positive for us? We've got them right where we want them. How about you just beat them?
Yeah, just beat them. And you know what though? The game wasn't being called both ways. I didn't feel like the Chiefs dude, the tackle who's always offsides was always offsides. He wasn't on the line of scrimmage. They kept calling it on the Ravens. Like there were some play. Again, I'm not saying that made a difference in the football game, but it's hard to win at Arrowhead because the Chiefs get all the calls.
Yeah, I agree.
So
I
we'll
mean,
see.
it happens. Dynasty teams get away with that. The Patriots got away with it. The Golden State Warriors, they get away with it because they set moving screens every time they take a 3-pointer. You kind of see those dynastic teams get more favorable calls.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. Again, the biggest medicine for the Bengals would be to go win. Like this is a game you should be excited about as Cincinnati. I think this is the perfect get right game. Because if you got the Panthers on your schedule, you're expected to win and all the pressure is on. You're not expected to win this week. And if you do, then people put you right back in the conversation.
And it also seems like Jamar Chase is gonna play, so that uncertainty's kind of gone away. T. Higgins, you hope, is back from his hamstring, so should give you a better chance there as well.
Yeah. And, Joe Burrow's a competitor. Like, he's the Jason Tatum of the NFL. People love to hate Joe Burrow now.
Is that true?
Yeah. There's so much Burrow hate. So
Well,
much.
Jason Tatum was never as widely loved as Joe Burrow was.
But they're turning into the same player.
I guess for me, I would say it depends on what happens this year.
Turning into the same player. Not there yet, but they're almost there.
Did we have another game? Oh, we were
Yeah.
going to talk. What were we
We
going
got
to
to
talk
talk
about?
about Caleb Trash Williams against the Houston Texans and CJ Stroud. The only person that's going to play well in this game is Joe Mixon.
Yeah, that his debut really surprised me because he wasn't a great running back with the Bengals. I know he would hit 1,000 yards, but his efficiency and his explosiveness was never really there. But he was awesome in week 1.
Yeah. So if I'm looking at this game, before we talk about the quarterbacks, I would take Mixon over 66.5. Like the Bears made Tony Pollard look good in week 1. If you can make Tony Pollard look good, Joe Mixon's going to pop off. But looking at this game, CJ Stroud, Caleb Williams has all the hype. Text the punter after he gets drafted. You're not going to be punting much. All they did was punt. He was 14-29 for 93 yards. He looked terrible. You look terrible against Will Levis. Luckily, you got the job done because Will Levis threw the ball. But looking at this game, Grant, what do you think Caleb Williams is going to do?
Well, I would expect Caleb to be better than he was. It's hard to be a whole lot worse. I mean, he didn't turn the ball over, which despite throwing for 93 yards or whatever it is, playing a clean game, taking care of the ball, that's a positive in your first game as an NFL quarterback. But I would expect him to be better. 14-29, completely less than half of his passes, didn't hit 100 yards. I think we could see him do better than that. It sounds weird, but you're right that the Bears' run defense didn't look good, but their pass defense did a great job. They were one of the stingiest defenses in the league last year. If Caleb can just get to like even 1 touchdown, much less 2, I think this could be a somewhat close game. I'm not saying the Bears will ever really have a chance to win, but if you get a line of 7.5 points, could they keep it right around there? I can see a world in which that happens.
Yeah, I could too as well. I don't see that likely happening, but I could see it happening. I think the Texans are going to control this game. The 6 points is a lot to lay in the NFL. I think it is the right move with the Houston Texans here, just because they have the experience. They look really good. Stephon Diggs looked happy again. I saw him smile for the first time in a while. Joe Mixon ran the ball well. You still have Nico Collins. The Bears have a lot of weapons, don't get me wrong, but what we saw in week 1 against the Titans team that's not that dominant on defense. I mean, they do some really good things on defense, but the fact that they shut down Caleb Williams and they looked really not bad against the run, but Tony Pollard had a very successful day running the football against them. I think the Texans are in for a big win here.
This is totally random. My mind just went down a little rabbit hole while you were talking. Stephon Diggs. What did they call it? Was it the miracle of Minneapolis? Whatever. the play in the playoffs, I think it was against the Saints when he catches the walk-off touchdown. You remember
Yeah, it's
that?
like bobbled, right? It was like a tipped ball that he caught. Yeah.
Yeah, and the defender, like I think it was like double covered, and one of them went for the tackle and just completely missed, and he got a game-winning, game-ending touchdown. Was Case Keenum the quarterback on that play?
Probably, right?
Because I don't think it was Kirk Cousins. I don't know if Cousins was there yet. This is so random, but you said this is the first time I'd seen Stephon Diggs smile, and I don't know how long, and it made me think of that play.
Probably Teddy Bridgewater was the one who, yeah, so it must have been. No, Sam Bradford.
It was Sam Bradford?
I think it was, yeah.
Hold on, I gotta pull
Case
this up.
Keenum. No, it's Teddy got hurt, then Bradford got hurt, so it was Case Keenum.
It was Case Keenum?
Yeah.
Anyway, it wasn't that long ago, but it seems like that was 2018?
Yep.
It's funny how quickly time passes in sports. Like 6 years ago doesn't sound long, but that play feels like forever ago.
Yeah, that's a pretty long time. What, 2018?
2018, yeah.
Yeah, so Sam Bradford started the season for them, got hurt, I believe. Yeah, started the season.
Teddy Bridgewater came in. That sounds right.
Bridgewater got hurt, Bradford got hurt, and then Case Keenum took over.
And then they get that play, and then they go to the NFC Championship game. And is that would have
been your Blake Bortles, Tom Brady, Nick Foles, and Case Keenum.
Case Keenum, yeah.
That's the iconic picture of them like walking into the stadium, yeah.
And Brady didn't, of all the Super Bowls, Brady didn't win that one. That's crazy.
Yeah, Brady got beaten that one by the Eagles, but they were a motivated team.
The Vikings got stomped by the Eagles too, didn't they? Well, it was I don't know what the score was, but it was like 30-7, something like that.
That might have been the one really good game that Nick Foles had that was just like from one side to the other. It was like super dominant, which he was good in the Super Bowl too. But
yeah, in the Super Bowl he was great. He had like 370, 380 passing yards, 3 touchdowns.
Let me see.
I think it was 3 touchdowns, 1 pick, and I'm pretty sure he went over 350 passing.
What year was that? 2017?
2018.
2017. Yeah, 3-7. Oh, yeah. So he was great in the Super Bowl, but he was better in the NFC Championship game. No picks. He averaged 10 yards a throw compared to 8. He threw for 352. He completed 78% of his passes.
And then I'm pretty sure they needed like a time expiring field goal to beat the Falcons in the wild card too.
And everybody 10, yeah.
Yeah, and that was right after Carson Wentz got injured, and everybody said, "Oh, they're cooked. They got no chance." And then they win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, he was great in both those games. I mean, you look at him in the Super Bowl and the NFC Championship game.
And it's just funny how much the NFL's changed. Like you said that Sam Bradford was the quarterback for the Vikings there. If you asked me when was the last time Sam Bradford played, I don't think I would have jumped to 2018 or 2019, whatever it was.
I mean, he only played 3 games in 2018. In 2017, he played 4 games. 2016 was his last full season.
Yeah, I would have said like 2015, 2016.
Yeah, no, he was. It's crazy because you see these guys back in college, like when the TV screen was still blurry. Like that's how I think of Sam Bradford.
And it's also, I mean, just going back to college too, a lot of these guys that, get to the NFL or don't even get to the NFL were unbelievable college players.
Yeah.
Like people don't realize Cliff Kingsbury was a top 10 Heisman finisher at one point.
Yeah. No, it's wild to think about all these guys that like Jalen Milroe, like that's another guy. Like he's going to be really good in college. He's going to have a really good year. He might not do anything in the pros. Like there's so many good college players that don't go on to do anything.
Malik Willis, I don't think was ever a Heisman candidate, but he was a quarterback. He was?
He was good. He was a good football player.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, he was the quarterback of Liberty when they won like 12 or 13 games in a season.
Yeah. No, he was good. I think he was the quarterback for Liberty when. No, he wasn't.
No, yeah, he was the quarterback for Liberty, and they had Golding at receiver.
I was going to say, like, UConn beat them outright, I think, in 22, and he was not there. That was the year right after he graduated.
Oh, did you see UConn beating down on Merrimack?
Yeah, they're gonna beat Duke this weekend. I would take the 16.5 points, and it was
I
at
don't
17.
know. I
All
heard
the money, there's reverse line movement on the game. All the money is on Duke, and it's going the other way. So better watch out. Huskies are
Duke
going to
is
win
favored
outright.
by 17.
They should. They're an ACC school.
Well, yeah,
UConn's going over 4.5.
I'm thinking about when you said UConn had a good chance to beat Maryland, and
No, Maryland was the best team on their schedule by far. So it's only down from here. They're going to smack Duke around. I think UConn looks really, really good right now. They got some motive. They got some confidence coming off that game against Merrimack. They're going to play a little better defense. Duke's offense has been trash. They'll be fine.
okay. Well, I mean, I guess we'll wait and see.
I got 2 parlays this weekend. Not 2 parlays. I got UConn. Right now I got UConn, and then I took Bills plus 10.5, and then Bucks plus 12.5. Parlayed them. Should be good.
I don't hate that.
We'll see. It's like minus 118. Anyways, Grant, take us out of here.
Guys, that is going to do it for this episode of Ride the Line. We appreciate you all tuning in. Make sure that you before you click off of here, you do hit the subscribe button, hit the like button as well, drop some comments, let us know what you're going to be betting on this weekend. We are always getting active in the comment section. We will reply to you if you do leave your comments. But like I said, that's going to do it for this episode. Tanner and I will catch you all on the very next filming of Ride the Line.